Okay, are you really a YouTuber without a cutting board video? Some would say no. We're going to do a quick, simple cutting board, and then in another video later on, we're going to do a much more complicated one. So I've already gone ahead and planed and jointed these boards. I'm going to go ahead and rip them down to just under 2 inches thick real quick, and then we'll get to putting that together. So let me get the gear on, and we'll get going. So I cut them all to just under 2 inches thick, roughly, and this will obviously go through the planer and get planed down a little bit further. So what I'm doing now is basically going to start sorting them to find a good pattern and what ones fit together well. So I know we're going to want this walnut on the outside and probably one of these long cherry pieces on the outside. Let's go ahead and glue that up. We're going to save these other pieces. So I'll get set up for that. We'll be right back. We have our clamps. We've got our extra clamps set up. We've got our Titebond 3, extra Titebond 3, our glue brush. By the way, I'll put links to all this stuff in the description. This is just a kitchen glue brush, and this is just a kitchen spoon rest, but they are cheaper than anything for woodworking, and they work the same. So let's go ahead and get these spread out. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to bring it all towards me. We're going to start on that end. So although these are all 2 inches wide, they are different thicknesses. And Titebond 3 because it's waterproof. They say you can use Titebond 2. I've always used 3. Also 3 has a longer open time. Now, I'm not worried about the ends that aren't going to be glued together because the maple is in the middle here is controlling our glue length in essence, because the rest aren't going to be touching. So, but I am leaving it on there just for a trick later. And it might be, you could say I'm wasting some wood or dropping it, but that's part of the game. Is when I go to plane this down, because I can run this through my planer, it's edge grain, not end grain. Although some will say you can run end grain through too. But in any case, these ends will act to help with any snipe I have. I can drop the snipe and still get the full maple part of the cutting board here. So, and yes, cutting boards take a lot of glue. Want to keep that all together, waterproof. Go ahead and start getting these together. If you are doing this a lot, I would say get a glue roller. I just haven't invested in one yet. And we probably weren't supposed to put glue on that last one, but oh well. Let's see, because they're all going to flip this way, this way, this way. Nope. I wasn't supposed to put glue on that side because it doesn't match up how I want this cutting board to go. So, remember, everything is fixable. We're going to fix it by putting this scrap piece on there. And we're just going to cut it off later. We're just going to let that dry overnight now. I think we've got everywhere. What happened? Did I miss a couple? I'm missing the cherry and the walnut on that side. Well, So I made a mistake when we got this going, just to note. These two pieces belong on there as well. I missed them. So rather than take it apart and mess up this glue up, we're going to leave it. We're going to glue it up this way. Tomorrow morning, I'll come out, pop this off. We'll glue those on and clamp it up together, and that'll get us back to where we need to be. So no reason to worry about it. No reason to panic. It's just going to take a little bit longer to do this one. Just add one more glue up. So I'll show you that tomorrow when we do it. So unfortunately, I did that, getting into a hurry. Should have had it separated from that wood. That wood's for a different cutting board later. That's my fault. So we'll show you how this goes later. So I've just run back out quick, and you can see this is dried up. But remember, we made that mistake yesterday of not putting these two pieces in. So we're going to unclamp this quick. We're going to get those pieces in there and clamp it back up so that tonight we can work on it a little more. Let's get this out of clamps. Now that we've got it out of the clamps, one of the things we're going to do is go ahead and try to get this glue off. Now, I probably should have wiped this off when I had it in the clamps, but I was busy doing other stuff, so I didn't. So we're going to get as much of this off and then run it through the planer. So I'm going to go ahead and use my miter saw to cross cut this because it's not too wide. I've gone ahead and stuck on my 8/8 tooth fine finish blade for this. You could also use a table saw with a miter gauge or a crosscut sled. But my table saw, I don't have a crosscut blade for it. I only have a ripping blade. So I'm going to do that to get it down and then probably cut it into two, because one of these I can leave to whatever width I want to, and the other one has to be a specific length, and I'll take that down over at the saw. So let's go ahead and start by getting the first cut to get this squared up. So this one has to be a specific size, so we're going to go ahead and cut it down to that width. We already have it, I guess, yeah, width. We already have the length cut right. So, and basically it just needs to be shaved off just a touch. So So at this point, you can see the sanders are out. I've gone ahead and just did a quick 80 grit sanding on these just to get them started. Now I'm going to put my edge profiles on them. We're just going to do a round over on the top and the bottom and on the corners. We will eventually route in some handles also, and then a juice groove. So far I'm doing both of them at the same time. You'll also see me switch between two different routers. This one has a round over on it that I pretty much keep on it. The other one I've put the juice groove jig on, or bit on, and I'll be using the juice groove jig. So, and then we'll be using the router table for the actual handles. So let's go ahead and get these edges on. Okay, I have moved over to the router table. I have put a very large cove bit in there. So it's a CMT half-inch radius cove bit to make my handles. I do have it just above because I have it all the way down without clicking it down a whole nother level, which is fine because this is my starting pass anyways. So we should be okay there. I'm going to go ahead and run it this way in and run it back and forth on this table. The other cutting board I have, the smaller one, is already sold. So this one is not. So if I really mess this one up, I could just cut it off. So we're going to test it on this one. I'm making this one for fun anyways. Probably give it to a friend. So let's go ahead and try it. I've taken the feather boards and flipped them over, you've noticed. Those are my stops. So I'm not doing it across the whole bottom. I'm doing it end to end there. So let's go ahead and get that going, and we'll see how it goes. One other thing, it is a bearing bit, and I did line it up with the fence, so it should ride perfectly in there. So get everything going. Probably going to make a mess either way, but we do have the shop vac hooked up. You're probably wondering if one of these is sold and one of these is not, why am I doing them both? And the basic of that is tooling. Why go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth when I can just run this router bit, sand, run that, so forth. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish off the roundovers on the bottom here on the edges and on this handle. I've already 80 grit sanded these, so next up I will go ahead and be doing the 120, then the 150. We'll water pop them, stamp them, probably go up to 180, maybe water pop it again, and then 220 and 320. And at that point, we'll be done with the sanding. So this is my very simplistic juice groove jig. So I just wanted to show you how this works. Now, mine is very simple. It is just a flat sheet of plywood, some L sheets, and then they're screwed down to this plywood and I can adjust them. So for the shorter board, we'll basically put this end here and then you keep going around and they'll all overhit. On our router, we've got a bullnose bit, 1/2 inch. What we're going to do, we're going to go right along this outside. And basically, that will keep that juice groove even all the way around. So let's go ahead and get that started. We're going to take a few passes to do it. Also of note, we're going to turn our speed down. We're not going to blast it at high because it's hardwood. We're going to turn it down a halfway or so and just try that and see. So the other thing to note is this bit is rotating this way. So it wants to pull the router that way. So we want to go counterclockwise. If we start going clockwise, it could pull it into the middle like that. Oops. It'll sand. We're at 0. So let me go ahead and give this a little bit of depth and we'll get started. I am thinking I had the direction wrong. So I'm going to go look that up and make sure. Yes, we got off here a little bit. I am going to fix that. I have an idea on what we can do to fix that. So I'm going to take a little piece of scrap of wood, and I think we're just going to we're going to put it here, and we're going to make the end one just a little bit wider of a juice groove. It's going to become a feature. So this one's been sanded to 150, so we're going to go ahead and set it here and water pop it. Then we're going to go back and start sanding the other one while we let this one dry so we can keep moving. So it's as simple as, you don't need it soaked, you just need it damp. Also gives us a chance to see what it's going to look like. We're going to go ahead and start putting finish on these boards. Now I'm using a new one to me, which is tung oil, 100% pure, no solvents in this. I'll leave a link to this down below. Mixed with a little bit of this Nature's Orange solvent, natural. It's also food safe, and it won't go into the wood anyways. It will basically go on, help the oil penetrate, and then it will evaporate off. So both are food safe. Lots of YouTubers and stuff have tested a lot of this. I trust a lot of them, so we're just going to go ahead and apply this lightly. I've mixed it at about 50-50. Pour a little on there. We will do the whole board. And then if we need to do more, another coat tomorrow, we will. But what this tung oil is supposed to do, a lot of people use mineral oil, and they'll soak it and get it really penetrated. And I've done that in the past. But what happens then also is that mineral oil does weep out as over time because it's always wet. And what some have found is the tung oil becomes a hard oil on this board. And other people have done the research with cutting boards that they've had in their own kitchens for a while and have said that using this oil solvent mixture, those boards look new for a long time. And then I do have conditioner that we'll put on here before we send it out also, and I'll show you that as well. So I'm just getting this end grain, will take a lot, so we'll get that all in there. But look how beautiful that board is now. It really pops. So last time we put the tung oil solvent mixture on here, they're nice and smooth, complete. Now the last thing we're going to do is go ahead and take this beeswax tung oil mix, and we're going to put it on the board and buff it in. So I tend to put it on a little bit heavy and then just go ahead and rub it all around. So and this will go ahead and just add another layer of protection. Also, as if you wash the board a bunch of times and it starts to dry out, you can obviously go back and put this on. So this just adds another layer of protection, and if the board ever starts to dry out from being washed, used, you can just go ahead and send a tin of this with it, and that way the user, customer, whomever, friend can just go ahead and put it back on and apply it. And then just buff that to a nice shine, however you want it finished off. So it shouldn't obviously be soaking, shouldn't be all, should just be a normal wooding cutting board when it's done. So If you want to see how I made the board balm, go ahead and hit that like and that subscribe button. I will have a video coming shortly on that as well. And it's a simple formula, so just look for that to come out soon. Otherwise, the board's complete. You can, I'll probably do the back of it with this, but I don't need to show you all that. Just throw it on. Thanks for watching. Have a good evening.